Today, I'm going to give you the lowdown on these 7 coconut products we sell in order to try and find what and how to make the best pina colada. Now, I may get in trouble for this, but better to seek forgiveness than ask permission, right? Now, before I go any further, quick disclaimer. This is Steve the barman talking here. This is not Drinkstuff. These views are not Drinkstuff's views. And actually, I don't have too much to worry about because this tasting didn't quite turn out how I expected it to. Cocktail fans, welcome back to the Drinkstuff YouTube channel. We are your one-stop shop for all your cocktail needs except for the booze. Now, I know this video is a bit behind the times. It was sort of National Pina Colada Day about a month ago, but that kind of got me thinking because as a customer, which I am of Drinkstuff, as a customer, I look at the coconut products that Drinkstuff sells and I think to myself, hang on a minute, there's 7 here. Which is the flipping best one that I need to buy to make pina coladas? Now, I want you to know I wasn't alone in coming up with these assumptions that's coming up in a second. What I've already done this morning is I've actually made up 7 pina coladas using these ingredients and then taken them out to the office and got everyone to try them blind and then try to tell me their favourite and their least favourite. Now, to make these pina coladas, there is so many recipes out there. I'm going to make one for you in a second. Of course I am. I'm going to show you how to make a pina colada. But what I want to emphasise is that, there is 1,000,001 recipes to make a pina colada. All it essentially is rum, pineapple and coconut. But you can go off in so many different tangents. So before I get on and talk about these products, let's just make one. We've got to make a pina colada. Very quick, very easy. But there is certain adaptations you need to make with some of these ingredients. So I'm going to make the easiest one first. I'm just going to do equal measures of your rum of choice. I'm then going to add, let's put that away, some pressed pineapple juice. And this is just, I swear by this stuff, a supermarket owned pressed pineapple juice. Not the stuff from concentrate, pressed, I swear by that. So I've done 60ml double bubble of rum. I'm doing a 60ml double bubble of pineapple juice. And then this will be adjust to taste. But I've had a little play this morning. I'm going to do 45ml of this coconut puree. Now, this is not necessarily saying my favourite one. That's why I'm using it. I'm just doing this purely for ease. So I'm just going to blend this up now. My blender's off camera on a different plug socket, so bear with. And then when all blended, all icy cold, we're just going to simply pour that in. Look at that. Nearly perfect. You can top up with a bit more crushed ice if you want. And then we just traditionally garnish with a couple of pineapple leaves, pineapple fronds, and a wedge of pineapple. Simple as that. Now, it just so happens that is a delicious pina colada. I really, really like that. But can we do any better? So before I give you my opinion and the office opinion on the best coconut, the best pina coladas, I think I should talk you through the difference in products and why you'd buy one over the other, because there is a huge difference, not just in taste, but in actual use. And if you're thinking, hang on a minute, is there any other way I can make a pina colada to make it more interesting? Yeah, of course there is. Look, I've got like 4 different rums lined up here. I mean, we can go down that route. We can do white rum, pineapple rum, coconut rum, the dark rum that I use. We can do all that. We can add a pinch of salt. I love adding a pinch of salt to my pina coladas. You could do banana coladas and add banana puree in there as well. You could add a touch of cinnamon in there, grated cinnamon over the top. You could add loads of different flavoured sugar syrups as well, whatever takes your fancy. But today I'm just talking about that bare basic sort of rum, coconut, and pineapple pina colada recipe. So I think these 7 products essentially break down into 4 subcategories of coconut. So I'm going to talk about the categories as they go. So head to head here, I would kind of go these 2. So we've got Monin and ODK, what I would call purees or fruity mixes, because this is a puree. I'm going to keep that separate. That's out and out puree. let's call these what they are, fruity mixes. These are essentially coconut and sugar. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the coconut quantities in there and all that, because there's a lot of stuff on the back here, so that's a bit too in depth. But what these essentially are, you know, you've got a mix of coconut, you've got bits of coconut in there as well, whether it's grated coconut, desiccated coconut. So you've got that, you've got coconut milk in both of these as well, but you've also got that sugar to keep these long life and shelf stable. And that even means after opening. Now, again, I have to say this and emphasize this bit is definitely 100% Steve the Barman talking here. Let's talk about the dates on these. This one was produced in 2021 and goes out of date in 2025. This one, I'm not sure we've got a production date on here, but this goes out of date in March 2024. So you can tell this is 2022, August 2022. So you can tell there's a pretty healthy shelf life on it. But the big differences between the two, and I haven't got my facts 100% right on there. I don't think ODK actually claim a best before after opening. I think they actually go to the time that it's the date on the actual back of the bottle here. So 2025, as far as I'm aware. Don't hold me to that. I might have to do a little bit of extra research in there. But the one thing I do know about Monin, and hopefully that's facing the right way at the front for you, they do say use within 4 weeks of opening. Now here's the Steve the Barman sort of subheading. You can get a lot longer out of that. Don't be scared. Don't be frightened of that best before. So use by and best befores are completely different. We're talking best befores today. There is no use bys here at all. They're all best befores. Nothing here is going to hurt you. All right. Now these products are new to me. I haven't got a definitive answer to this, and I haven't tested every single range. This is the first time I've ever tested the coconut Monin fruity mix from this rate. But ODK, I know full well I've got one of these open at home for at least 2 years, at the very, very least 2 years. And I think I'm pretty convinced it's actually way before COVID. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's 3 years. The Monin range, I've just started testing. I've got one open at home and that's been open for 3 months and is still absolutely fine. But I say, that is Steve the Barman talking, not Drinkstuff, not these brands. I'm just trying to be open and honest with you. Don't keep these in a warm place. Keep these as cool as possible without going in the fridge, and they should last quite a long time. So we've established what these products are and what they kind of look like. You can see, hopefully you can see that on the close-up, the sort of consistency in there. Quite thick, lovely bits in there. Oops, let's not do a bit of product contamination. It's only me drinking it. The Monin one, I would say, can we do a straw test? Oh, is this, I don't know. This is a little spur in the moment. I don't think we could do a straw test to see how thick it is. We might be able to. We might be able to. You can see on that, the Monin one is a lot thicker than the ODK one. Now, I'm going to be honest. And again, this is what this video is about. This is me being honest. Tasting wise, I've sworn by the ODK one for years. As I've just said, I've had that. But that's because I haven't had access to the Monin one. The Monin is a new product to me. Taste wise, I'm just tipping a nod to that, neat, just as it is. That is a very delicious coconut puree with lots more coconut bits in it. That is absolutely delicious. But that's not putting anything against the ODK one, because I would still, even now after tasting that, I would still quite happily use that. I know from the last 3 or 4 years, I know full well that makes awesome pina coladas. But here's the vital nugget of information for these. This, you may have seen sort of tucked around. Making your pina coladas with these, you don't need any of that cream. These save you the extra ingredient of adding cream. Then we move on to this product. I am going to call it Real. I know I am. If I say Real, I'm really, really sorry. I mean Coco Lopez. There is another brand that Drinkstuff don't sell that I've used quite a lot, and that's where I get confused. And that's in a white squeezy bottle. This is Coco Lopez. Cream of coconut. And I'll be brutally honest, this surprised me when I opened it. I've not opened one of these in at least a decade. For some unknown reason, I thought it was white, creamy, cream of coconut that you would get from your supermarkets. As you'll see from this, it is not. It's essentially a sugar syrup with bits of coconut in it. Okay, and quite thick. Again, we could do a straw. I like this little test. That's a cool little test. You can see how thick it is. It stands up reasonably long. The ingredients on here, coconut, sugar, and water. Now, as a taste, that does taste quite coconutty, not as much as coconut as what those two products do. And I would say it's also a little bit sweeter as well. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad product, just bear that into account. I would personally say it's a little bit sweeter than these. Now, the other thing I should have quickly done is just given you the breakdown of how many cocktails these will make, because that's just pointed out on the back here. Now, for me, I would quite happily use 30, 45 ml of that in a cocktail. So, and I haven't got the calculator, I've just done this on the top of my head. I'm reckoning you can get a good 20 to 22 cocktails out of that. I'm probably out just slightly, but about 20 to 22. You could chance even less. You could do 30 ml of coconut and you'll probably get a lot more of that. Just to put this in 25 ml terms, 25 ml is 30 shots out of that. And this is a litre, isn't it? I completely forget. Is this a litre? Where is it? It's a litre, so that's even more. Sorry, so that's 750 ml, that's 30 shots. That's a litre, that's 40 shots of 25 ml. So on face value, you're going to get more out of that, better value for money. But price-wise, that's up to you. Now, the difference is, on the back of the tin here of Coco Lopez is telling you to use 60 ml. 60 ml of that in a pina colada. It tells you to add pineapple juice and rum into a blender. It doesn't say add cream. Me personally, I've done it both ways, and I think for a lovely pina colada, I think a touch of cream is needed to that, because I do think it is more syrupy than it is puree-y like those. But on the 60 ml servings, that's saying you get 14 servings, 14 cocktails out of this tin. Now let's talk about this. Now this is Funkin'. Just to give you the lowdown, I don't know the ins and outs of this, but Funkin', through COVID, we know that there was, even on glass bottles, we know that there was a bit of hassle through COVID, and brands just couldn't keep up. So this is Funkin', but they did go through a few months where they didn't have branded pouches that were sending out. So, but this stock is still quite decent length on it. This is 20. This goes out of date next year, the 8th, so August 2023. So, you know, and have we got a production date on here? No, there's no production date on there, but it is August 2023 on there. So we know full well there's at least a year shelf life before opened on these. And I think it's actually close to 2. I think that's where it comes from. I think it's 2 years. But what this is, coconut, this is coconut puree. This is 83% coconut blended together with 10% sugar. So there's a bit of sugar to keep it long life, but there is a bit of lime in there as well, about 7%. And you can see from the straw test, you know, that is rigid. That's how thick that is. That is proper out and out coconut. Now, as a product, what you're going to have to do to that is sweeten it up. You are not, I don't think anyone's going to do this. You are not just going to add that to your rum and pineapple juice. Even though there's sugar in there, the sugar is a preservative more than it is functional. That is still, it's a little bit of sweetness to it, but it is just coconut. But you do get that sort of citrus come through the back there. There is that, you can easily tell it's got lime in there. Now, I'm not necessarily a fan of that. And the big point to note out with this as well, this is the downside of Funkin' products. While they are the most authentic in taste, the downside, especially for the home consumer, once opened, 8 days, I think a bit of leeway, you probably get 10, maybe 12 days at a push, but these are fresh products. They are gonna go off. But if you're prepared to play around with your cocktail, find that perfect balance, add sugar syrup and all that to sweeten it up, I dare say this will make proper banging pina coladas. And that is what I did to take the samples next door. I added sugar to this. I sweetened up as much as I dared and I took it through. So stay tuned and I'll tell you exactly what the results were in a minute. And then we come on to the last category, out and out flavoured syrups. We've got Monin, we've got ODK and we've got William Fox. Now for these, if you want a proper, true, authentic pina colada, one that still looks, oh, that's nice and cold, one that still looks like that, lusciously and creamy, you're gonna need to add a little bit of cream of choice, single cream, double cream, oat cream, whatever you got, but you're gonna need to add a little cream. Otherwise, it's just like a syrup, pineapple juice and a bit of rum. You know, you want something like that that reminds you of being on holiday. And just to point, I'm not sure what I said it, obviously you're not gonna need to add cream to that, the Funkin'. But you definitely, look at it, you're definitely not gonna need to add any cream. Now, in terms of shelf life, you could argue that these are the best. Now I know, and this is no, I'm sorry George, this is no slur on George's products. George's use, what should we say, William Fox this is, should we say better quality products or more healthier products, but the shelf life on some of the William Fox syrups, depending what they are nowhere near as good as the ODK and the William Fox. Even though they're sort of before opening, there's a really healthy shelf life on them. There is some of them do tend to go off after like 3 or 4 months or so, something like that. To be fair, it does say used within 1 month of opening. But I know from experience, the Monin syrups, the ODK syrups will last years and years and years. But taste-wise, which one is better? Now, the results are coming up in literally about 20 seconds, but I just want to sort of give you the taste of these. These taste really nice, coconutty. There's something a little bit extra in that. It doesn't say what it is on the back there, but that, as a neat syrup, has got something, almost kind of reminds me of a very subtle falernum. I know it's not, it's just purely purely coconut, but there is something a little bit extra to that. And here's the funny thing with just the shelf lives and all this sort of stuff. I've just noticed this. This was produced in 2021, best before 2023, compared to the ODK Puree that was produced in 2021 and is still good in 2025. Now, you could take that the other way. You could take, well, there's more junk in that or unhealthy stuff to keep that. Or you could take it from the way I kind of view it and think, that's going to last a flipping damn sight longer on my shelf. But, you know, there's a time and a place for syrups. When you don't want the texture, when you don't want the puree. For instance, if you just want a lovely sort of coconut daiquiri, swapping out the sugar syrup for a flavoured sugar syrup, you know, making a coconut daiquiri with something like these, for me, is actually better than using a puree. So, as I say, there are time and a place to use them. But today, I'm just talking purely on Pina Coladas. So the results. Now, you might see this on other social media platforms. I think Izzy got a video of all the guys out there sort of having a little try and dipping the straws in and sort of that. So there should be hopefully evidence of the people in the office trying this. But I thought there was going to be a genuine out and out winner, and there wasn't. There was a few products that were just kind of meh, but the other sort of 3, 4 were kind of, oh, that's really tasty. Which goes to show you're actually in good hands. It just depends how you want to make them. Do you want to have cream at home or do you not? Do you want really long life and shelf stable, or are you quite happy sort of buying something every couple of weeks, or, you know, these two, or, you know, having something on your shelf for a couple of months? Now, before I go into the staff, the guys in the office there, I'm going to give you my opinion first, okay? For me, there was one clear out and out winner, hands down for me personally, and that was the Monin. I absolutely loved that, hence why I made that at the start. That, for a simple 3-ingredient cocktail, is near enough perfect. And the bit that tipped it over the edge for me was just that extra little bit of coconut bittiness. There's loads of coconut in here, and it is lovely. But as I say, I'm really, really happy with that product as well. You know, if a choice out between the two, I'm still not overly convinced how long that will last opened. That's a challenge I want to do for myself and see. At the moment, I'm probably still in that camp because I know it lasts for a flipping long time for the home consumer. But if you're going to get through that easily, I would say 2 months at the moment. If you're going to easily get through that in 2 months, then I would go for that. If it's going to be longer, then I personally would go for that. But did the office staff think any differently? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. Those two fared pretty well in the office. They were big favourites. In fact, these two were probably the majority of favourites, okay? They made the great one. The least favourite out of the lot, and I'm sorry Funkin', was this one. Now, I tried to make that as good as I possibly could. I added, in the end, I actually added 2 lots of sugar syrup to that to try and bring that flavour out. So I started off with 15 ml. And that was in the cocktail, and then added another 15 ml, so that took it up to 30 ml in a cocktail that size. And then I actually added a little bit more because that 30 ml still hadn't done the job. And that was after they tasted it. So they tasted it with 30 ml essentially, which would be roughly on par with that. And it didn't really do anything for them. In fact, most people were just like, no, I don't want that. However, when it came to the rest of the products, again, there was 2 clear out and out favourites. Half the sort of group did really enjoy that. The other half really enjoyed that. And even for me, there is a notable difference between the taste of those two in a Pina Colada. Yes, you're adding cream. I did add exactly the same. So these were all sort of roughly about 40, because I did a big one, roughly about 45 ml of syrup, 30 ml of syrup, 30 ml of cream in there. So kind of split base in there. So while these were a bit more creamy and a bit more sort of dairy-fied than what these are, the William Fox one really shone through, and the Coco Lopez as well. Now, the conundrums you've got to think for yourself now is prices versus shelf stability versus use versus volume, okay? Because that is the cheapest by a long, long way. That's, well, I'm not going to tell you my prices. I don't know sort of trade pricing now, but I would, let's just give you a rough sort of £3 to £4, maybe cheaper. But I don't know what your prices are on that. But that is the cheapest, hands down. That is the cheapest. But again, you know, it's opened. That's it. You can probably keep it in your fridge for a few days. That's it. Job gone. The William Fox, again, you know, if you're going to make daiquiris and other cocktails that don't necessarily want that creamy sort of side to it, that I think is absolutely lovely. We know, look, we know Monin do great syrups. We do. But that, in the coconut steaks, in the Pina Colada, just edged it. And neat, that was my favourite neat. But in a Pina Colada, it just kind of wasn't the same as what that was. But if my primary reason is to have a creamy Pina Colada without the faff, without buying dairy, without buying cream, then hands down, I am going these. At this precise moment, I'm going to tip a nod to that one, purely for the home consumer on shelf stability, because I know that is guaranteed. But I promise you, if we can find that sort of lasts a lot longer than what they actually say it does, do you know what? If that lasted for 4 months, I would be over the moon, and I think it will easily, because I think you could get through one of those in 4 months easily. Even 3 months, I would be over the moon. I'm not too happy with the 30-day thing for the home consumer. I think that's a lot, but 3 months, if that's fine in 30 days, in 3 months, that's the one I'm going to be recommending for the future. But right now, purely for the shelf stability, that.